Welcome to everybody again. Lovely to see you all, and especially people from all over the world, but certainly from Malawi. And I know we will have 4 head teachers, so that's really, really good. Thank you for coming and joining us. Onto the agenda of the business. We'll work through this agenda, and I will take the first few items, and then Alan, my co-convener, will take over. So first of all, apologies. I have a list of apologies here, which I will read out. It's James Champion, Anne Dawson, Sally McPherson, Fides Mazawoe, Trisha Cook, Penny Turton, Jean Gordon, Marjorie Kilville, Dilys Lightfoot, Arthur West, and Katie McNeil. Maura, do we have anyone else?
Yes, we have. Apologies have just come in from a Handy Kamanga. And Moses Saka, the head teacher of Bags, is trying to get in. So I'm just trying to give a little help with that for just now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll go to our next item, which is the minutes of the previous AGM. I can't believe that we are already sitting here a whole year after the 2023 meeting. And we need, first of all, to ask if someone will propose to accept the minutes of the 2023 meeting. Do we have a proposer? Anyone, please?
I'm happy to do that, Angie, if that's allowed.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Alan. And a seconder.
I can second them.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you very much, Janet. And we need now to go to the next, or at least to go to the poll, the next slide, which, thank you.
Just let me.
So can we, yes, sorry, so the one before that, Roshana, that's it. Thank you very much. So can we have the poll? Thank you. You need to just click on one of the circles and submit at the bottom.
Just give this a little while, you know.
Yes,
just
yes.
That's only been 22 seconds. Just give it another few seconds, and then it's been up for a minute, and we've had 88% of people have participated. Okay, that's the minutes are accepted.
Lovely.
With 15 votes in favour and 1 abstention.
Lovely. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for taking part in that. So that's our minutes from last year. Accepted as a correct record of last year's meeting. Can I ask, before we move on, can I ask if there are any matters arising? Anyone want to bring up anything from those minutes? If you do, remember the instructions from Moira of putting the hand up so that our tech team can see you. No? No? Okay. In that case, we will move on to the next slide, please, Roshana. Thank you. So we're into our annual review, which I will attempt to present. As you can see here, there's a mini sort of agenda within the agenda. And I will go through challenges and activities, the list here. And it just tells you a little bit about what we've been doing over the past year, what things have happened. So if we go to the next slide, please, Roshana. Oh, that was a funny noise. Is that are we okay? Right. So first of all, there have been challenges, as many of you will know. Things have not been good in Malawi. Climate change has been causing a whole different sort of climate and weather things like heavy rains and flooding, droughts, and also, of course, there's been devaluation. So it's led to an awful lot of problems for people living in Malawi, and especially for our families, our girls who do live in some of the most remote parts and already live in poverty. So there's been a lot of like food insecurity because of crops failing, and the government has had to buy in food. There's been physical damage too, and I know Mercy was telling me that one of our girls lost their home completely. There's been a fear over cholera, so a lot more extreme poverty. And we've seen this with our girls, and it's had implications for us. A lot of you will know about our Ready to Learn fund, which gives people a greater, gives girls rather more support if they need it. But there has been a lot more demand for this. And if we go to the next slide, Roshana, please. You can see here that the usual things that we've been giving for quite a long time, notebooks, soap, pens, uniform, all these things. But interestingly, the girls, particularly from Shengatua, which is our day school, and these girls traipse back and forth from school to home and back every day, they've been asking for things like umbrellas. And Mercy also noticed that some girls were coming to school with shoes with big holes in them. And in the heavy rains, it's been causing big problems. So I think probably for the first time, we find ourselves buying umbrellas and shoes. The other thing has been, in the past, occasionally we have been asked to help with exam fees. But more and more we are being asked for these, or we were last year particularly. And part of our governance is when we meet as a board, we discuss these things. And we made the decision that because there were so many girls now whose families were having difficulty scraping together the money for exam fees, that we will include exam fees in our basic funding for the girls. So some changes and some additions, but a much bigger demand on our Ready to Learn fund. So can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so on to something a bit bright, our activities. And one of the exciting things earlier in the year was Scottish Malawi Partnership started running podcasts, making podcasts, and Mercy and Moira were one of, as you see, episode 1. So we were really pleased about that, and it's well worth having a look at. Easy to find wherever, as they say on the radio, wherever you find your podcasts. We've also developed a link with the SMP's youth officer, And of course, given that we're talking about part of the year being in 2023, we continued our 30th birthday celebrations. One of the things I wanted to mention was our networking, which can lead to, getting to know what's happening in Malawi in particular, and CEDA, which is the Scottish International Development Alliance. Sorry about that. Suddenly had a block. We have always attended their conference, and it's great for networking. And one of the things last year was I was talking to someone from an organisation called Right to Play, which isn't normally one that we would go to, considering we're supporting teenage girls. But I discovered they run sessions in schools empowering girls in secondary schools. So that was a really good link, and one we didn't know about. So it's just an example of the sort of thing that can happen when we go to these things. And of course, there were the coffee mornings, 2 or 3 of them, and which are always very successful. So just a quick rundown of some of our activities. Next slide, please. Thank you. And that comes on to our funders. Raising money is what we started to do 31 years ago, and we still continue, and it's the most important thing we do, really. And a big thank you to you, our regular donors. You support the majority of our girls, our core funded girls, but we also have these other groups and families. And as you can see from here, the Thompson Fund supports girls with hearing impairment and who attend the School for the Deaf. Money through the PAT Fund does the same. The Lancashire West Methodist Circuit, a funder that I was surprised to see, they asked to join us, which was great. And they have been supporting 6 girls at St Mary's. And of course, the Katie Fund, that's in its final year. And the Cameron Endowment, which was an amazing amount of money. And that's, some of you will know about Colin and Alison Cameron. And Alison, until last year, was our patron. And that has supported a large number of girls, but it has come to an end now, but there's a little bit of money left over, which we were allowed to continue supporting 2 girls. So next slide, please. And on this slide, you can just see, is it an idea of the kind of the groups of girls, which schools they go to, and the colours are related to the funders. And we have our 2 schools supported, that we support girls in, and they are from the Catholic Diocese. Mshenga, which I've mentioned, is our day school in Mzuzu. Mbangweni is the school that girls who are deaf or with hearing impairments attend. And the other 3 plus Mbangweni are all part of the Church of Central Africa Presbytery, the CCAP. All right, thank you. Can we have our next slide, please? So just a little bit of news of the girls. We were pleased to hear that those in Form 4 last year, who have now left school, did really well in their final exams. It's good to know that some have been offered university places and others going into a form of tertiary education or training, maybe going into health professions. I know Mercy will probably tell you that there's problems there with support. So she's been working hard on that with them as well. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that we do have a policy of enabling girls to finish education, the 4 full years in secondary school in Malawi, even if it means returning after having been away. And this past year we had one girl return, and we had one girl, we made a specific decision to allow her to repeat a year on the recommendation from her school. And I'm glad to say it's early days. They started back in September, but both are doing well. So next slide, please. Right, so just a quick rundown of our partners. I've mentioned the Synod of Livingstonia, which is CCAP, and that's 4 schools. The Diocese of Karonga, 2 schools. The Meshangatua is the day school, and we partner, as it says, directly with them. And the Methodist Circuit that supports 6 girls. And there are a lot of other organisations that we collaborate with, including churches, and particularly the Fair Trade Group in Dalgety Bay that have supported us for a long time, Banana Box Trust, and we get support, valuable support from Scotland Malawi Partnership, One World Shop, and the Edinburgh Newtown Church. So that's just a few of our main partners. So we're on to marketing and fundraising. I'm not going to say very much about this at all because Moira, our marketing lead, will be telling you much more about that later on. I did smile when I saw this. Most of our activities, I think, are a little more active than this one. I wondered whether this was a new one. Relaxathon? If it is, I'm up for it. So if anyone wants to join, that would be great. Right, this is a first for us, and we particularly wanted to highlight it. Our first match funding. The Big Give is an organisation which we had to apply to under the Women and Girls theme, and you choose how much your target will be, and they will match it. It only lasts a week, so we weren't perhaps as ambitious as we could have been, and we asked for 2,500, and believe it or not, within the first, what was it, 24 hours, Moira, that we got more than that. So we were amazed at that, and thank you to everybody. I'm sure there are people on here who helped us reach that. And as you can see from this slide, that we did make a net income of £5,744.50. So I think we will be discussing this, but I suspect that maybe we will try again next year and go for the bigger target. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Now back to maybe something a little more serious, although we do try and have fun on our governance, our trustee meetings as well. So we have continued on Zoom because we're all scattered and it makes sense to do that. And I just wanted to highlight again that when we're meeting, a lot of our decision making is as a direct result of issues that affect the girls and are raised by Mercy, as you'll have noted from the Ready to Learn Fund issues. So we also have two of our Malawian colleagues, Patrick and Remy, who are usually able to join us, and their on-the-ground advice is really invaluable, and we would very much like this to continue. We also, of course, have Mercy attending our board meetings. this will give you an idea of what goes on between our board meetings. We do have an intranet site, Podio, on which we can discuss issues between meetings, and we can also, if necessary, make decisions. There's the usual email, but what's most important and has perhaps come to the fore in the last year or so is the use of WhatsApp groups. And it's particularly useful for connecting with our colleagues in Malawi and elsewhere, but particularly in Malawi. I think Remy and Patrick and Messi will and others who are in this meeting from Malawi will say that's their main way of communicating. Thank you. Back to our strategic plan. Some of you will remember that we rewrote our strategic plan last year, so it was new, 23 to 27. And you have myself, Kate and Alan there who have been involved in putting that together and monitoring that. So one of the main things we've been working on is data collection. And Kate, one of our trustees, has been working with Mercy on developing a better way of collecting that data. Mercy can input it in Malawi and it comes to us directly too, which has been really useful. I put this in just because we did actually have a discussion about why do we do this? Because it seems, oh gosh, how boring, just, more and more numbers. But I think it's important to look at why we sometimes need to do this. And the most important is it's a way of making sure that we are taking care of your money, which is really, really good. And we get the requisitions from the churches, from the groups and from the schools. And Mercy, one of her jobs is checking to make sure that money is being spent well. And she's very good at it. There are some partners that ask for an end-of-year report. So we need figures for that. We need figures if we're going to make a funding application. And of course, our marketing and monitoring. So it is important, although, some people might groan about it, but we have to do it. The other part of that strategic plan, we added last year a new priority of localization. I have to say it's been a journey of complications. And unfortunately, for reasons only known to our bank, they would not accept the trustees whom we had who live rather in Malawi. Hence, Remy and Patrick are labelled as advisors. It's unfortunate. I don't know that perhaps Alan will say more about this, but we have just changed our bank. And there have also been letters to Oscar and SMP are aware of this, and other organisations are having the same problem. So we hope we can resolve that. However, despite that setback, our policy is always to think and research whatever we plan to do. Can this be done in Malawi by Malawians? That's the most important thing. And back to our, as Moira mentioned at the beginning, this is part of her role, doing admin and IT, managing our funding and donations from individual donors and organisations. The IT support, a lot of work in that for today. And they're both vital and they're time consuming. So I think it's important to give a big thank you, particularly to Moira and others who carry out this role over the year. But we are very conscious of how much work that is. And as we grow, which we are doing, beginning to think that maybe we need to go back to having someone employed. So watch this space is all I'll say at the moment, and it's work to be done next year. So looking forward, we're already in 24-25 academic year. We have 44 new girls now in school, plus one who has returned after a year away. And Mercy has already visited each school. She's met the new girls and has got to know them. And she has talked with all the other girls in forms 3, 4, and 5 as well, who are part of the Mamie Martin family. There's lots to think about what we're going to do with money that we're getting in, particularly from the Big Give. But despite this being very successful, it's going to be another busy year for marketing and fundraising. And you will hear about that later. We're also pleased that members of the Thompson family that I said earlier are involved in supporting our girls at Mbangweni, the school for deaf children. They are planning a visit very soon, and we'll be at the school meeting the girls, which is really exciting. And lastly, I was just wanting to finish with a quote from Mercy, our country director. Something that she says to the girls when she's going around the schools and giving them her motivational talk. It's, forgive me, Mercy, this is paraphrased, but essentially she is saying to our girls, your financial situation should never be seen as a barrier, a reason to fail, but for you to reach your full potential. And hear to that. Thank you very much. So that's the end of our review. Back to the agenda, the second half of the agenda. We have coming up next a report from Mercy. It will be a video initially. We also have then a video from some of the girls in Bandawi Secondary School, girls' school. And then Mercy will be available for questions. And then we will go, then I will hand over to Alan, who is our treasurer, as well as my co-convener, to continue with the meeting. And can we go to, thank you.
My name is Mrs. Wande, the Malawi director for Mamie Martin Fund. Mamie Martin Fund, as you all know, is an organization that helps out girls in northern region of Malawi secondary schools. These girls that will help out are those who are coming from families that cannot afford to pay fees for them. So we are working with 7 schools, and we are paying school fees for the girls that otherwise would not have been at secondary school. The 7 schools that we are working with, we're in partnership with Synod CCP schools, the Diocese Roman Catholic in the North region, and one government, pure government school. I'll just give you a brief background of what girls pass through in Malawian education for them to reach a level whereby they go to secondary school. Malawi education consists of primary school, secondary school, and then tertiary education. So for our girls that are for our Mamie Martin, because we only pay school fees at secondary level, we need a girl that has been selected through, she has passed her standard 8 exams, primary school exams, and then she has gone to secondary school. So primary school consists of 8 years. A student has to pass through 8 years of secondary school to go to secondary, to 8 years of primary school to go to secondary school. So you can imagine a girl that has passed through 8 years from primary, being selected to go to secondary school, then she's failing because she doesn't have school fees. It's a huge problem for these girls. Psychologically, they're affected. Everything about them is something that you cannot start explaining now how affected they are, but it's a huge problem to them. So Mommy Martin has come in as a solution to such girls. Of course, we cannot manage to pay for to give a solution to every girl out there in Malawi, but at least we're trying where we can. The little number that we now have 128 girls that are on our bursary, and that's a big change. It's giving hope to these girls. So on the part of secondary education in Malawi, I just want to give a brief background of what it consists. We have 3 categories of secondary education. When secondary schools, we have national secondary schools. When I talk of national secondary schools, I mean secondary schools that whereby they select girls from all over the nation of Malawi and send them to these national secondary schools. And among our schools, we have 2 that are national secondary schools. That is St. Mary's Girls Karonga and Kaseye Girls in Shitipa district, far north of Malawi. Those are the 2 national secondary schools that we have. And these national secondary schools accommodate even girls that come as far as 1,000 kilometers away, the distance. 700 kilometers to maybe 1,000 kilometers, because you can imagine a girl coming from Mulanje, far north, Choro, Palombe, far north of Malawi, coming to the far south of Malawi, coming to the far north of Malawi. The distance is just too much. And such a girl will need not only the fees to be fed, but also she might need other necessities to be given to her so that she can come to school. Apart from the national secondary schools, we also have district secondary schools. District secondary schools accommodate girls girls coming from that district. That means these girls search for their primary schools in the district that this secondary is. So those are the only ones that are selected to go to these schools. And then we have day secondary schools. The day secondary schools consist of 2 again. There's proper day secondary school, and then there's a community day secondary school. So the selection process happens like this. The best students go to national secondary schools, then the others go to the district secondary schools. Then the ones that have done well, yes, but not that well, go to community day secondary schools and these other day secondary schools. But also what you should note is that the selected girls spaces, secondary schools, they are not that much, especially the rural areas. They don't have much community day secondary schools. So the girl can sometimes not be selected at the primary level because the spaces in secondary schools is limited. So they just have a limited space to accommodate these girls, and others are left out. So the girls that come on our bursary are such ones that have already fought the battle to pass and be selected to come to the secondary schools. Now they have that opportunity to go ahead with their education, but they don't have school fees. As I've also said, some come from long distances. They don't have transport to travel to the schools, and then they don't have necessities to start to use at the school. So Mommy Martin pays full school fees for these girls, but also we have come up with a little funding called Lady to Learn Fund that we provide reusable sanitary wear for the girls once a year. It's renewable. We give them back, we will replace them each and every year. And then we also provide transport to those who do not have transport to come back to school. We also provide little things, basic things for those who don't have, like soap, notebooks, and other necessary items at school, like lighting materials, scientific calculators, mathematical sets, and things like that. And also, we meet situations where girls do not even have school uniform when they're starting school. The parents have brought the girl at school, and she or he didn't even pay for the school uniform. And so, for the sake of uniformity, we have to buy this girl the school uniform so that she looks like her friends at school. So those are the things that we do as Mommy Martin Fund. How are we managing this? We are managing this because of your help. So your help is very important to us. Our girls to finish for the 4 years that they stay at secondary school, we depend upon you people out there. And we are very appreciative. The girls are very grateful for the support that you give them each and every time. We don't take it for granted, and we really appreciate the help. And may you continue doing so. I also just want to thank the individual donors that give in the little that they can give. Those little things that you give in, when added together, they make out a huge change to this Malawian girl. It changes a lot of life, and you are bringing hope to a lot of hopeless girls. And my duty as a Malawi director for MMF is to go around these schools once a term to check on the girls if they are really there. You know, sometimes we can be given a list of the girls that are on our bursary, but maybe on the ground they are not there. So I have to go and make sure that the girls are at school and they really are there, that we are paying fees for real girls, not ghost students. The other thing is that since these girls are coming from families and backgrounds that have faced a lot of difficulties, most of the families are those that depend upon subsistence farming, which do not even provide enough for their food at home. So you can imagine, if someone is failing to provide food, can they manage to pay fees and other necessities for the girls? So these girls are, most of the times, that they are psychologically affected, and mostly they are in worries, and emotionally they are not fine. So I go there to encourage them. We talk, and my girls, trust me, they talk to me, they bring issues to me, and we sit down whereby I can help them, I can help them. We talk, we encourage each other, I give counseling and guidance. Where I see that the issue is too much, we refer these girls to the reliable resources where they can be helped. And so in the long run, we have seen that these visits are really important to our girls, and they're shaping them up. They are looking forward to each and every term that I go there to visit them, because they know that they will lay down their issues to me, and we can talk. Where the problem is very huge for me, I can also assist and find help, professional help for them, so that they can be assisted. And lastly, I just want to say that since 1993 that MMF started, it has made a lot of impact. There are many professionals that have been produced through the help of MMF. Many have passed through secondary school with our help, and then they have gone to public universities to do tertiary education. And from there, we have doctors, we have many nurses, we have teachers, we have engineers, we have a lot of girls on many, they pursuing many careers. And we also have entrepreneurs. People are doing a lot of things. Our girls are doing a lot of things out there. Some have nurtured their hobbies. Some are doing great things, like maybe into tailoring. Others have gone into baking. Others have gone a lot of careers that they're doing, and a lot of things that they're doing. But the most important thing is these girls have been educated through our help, and the education have kind of opened their mind. I've given them an open horizon whereby they see themselves not just a village girl who is there to just go out and start a family and have this huge family without anything to depend on. But their mind is waking up now and saying that, okay, even if I have not gone far as finishing tertiary education, but I can do something with my life. If it's farming, I can do a modern farming and change the community that I'm coming from, change the world for myself and the world for my family. So I just want to say, continue the support. Is giving a great change to Malawi, to our girls. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your continued support. Bye.
Thank you very much, Mercy. We will go straight on, please, to the video from the girls before we go back to questions.
I'm Helen Homer, a girl from Malawi Girls Secondary School. I've been on MMF Fund Bursary 2001, and now I'm in Form 4. In behalf of my fellow outgoing from Southwich in the North Bluji, I would like to thank my MMF Fund Bursary for helping us in paying for us school fees and providing us in many things like school uniforms and many more. being at Badal Girls Secondary School, it has been a great thing. I've enjoyed learning here, and I've learned many things. For example, I've learned in sports. I'm a goalkeeper, and also at Badal Girls here, I've learned drama. I'm also one of the drama club members, and I'd like to go out with drama club, like acting in many things, even if I go out. So, in behalf of myself and force, I would like to say thank you on Martin Frank Basale for paying for us school fees until now.
Thank you, and I hope she makes the drama club. Mercy, that was a superb presentation. Thank you so much for doing that. And thank you for taking the video of the girls as well. Do we have questions for Mercy? Is anything coming through?
Sorry,
Nothing.
muting. We don't have anything just yet. We don't have anything just yet, but yes, we have Matthew has put his hands up. Yeah, and we're going to give people a bit of time, to maybe type it or put their hands up. So Matthew, your question.
Great, thanks very much, and thanks Mercy for that brilliant presentation. It was so good to hear. As someone coming in not knowing much about MMF to begin with, it's great to see the work that you're doing. You said that the girls have gone on to become doctors, nurses, engineers. How long after leaving the 4 years of education and the support of MMF do you keep track of the girls? And do you do regular visits with them thereafter once they've got into their professions? How do we know what they're going on to do? It'd be great to learn more about that. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you, Matthew. This has been a problem for us in the past. We tended to lose track of many of the girls just through lack of communication, It is now improving. And certainly if the girls go into tertiary education, it's easier to keep in touch. And Mercy does know some of the girls, but our main, obviously, as you know, our main aim is to support girls in the secondary school. So we don't have a lot of resources to keep on, to keep up with girls who have left. It tends to be a small number that we manage to do that with. It's something we have spoken about often, but it's a difficult one. Anyone else want to add to that?
Just to say
Yes,
that, many of the girls don't have mobile phones, so we don't have numbers for them when they leave school. And there's also GDPR rules, so we're restricted in what we can legally do to follow them up.
That's true. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, I would concur with the ones that have already spoken. Yes, it's very tough to keep up with all the girls, but the ones that have gone to the public universities that were on Martin Fund, most of them keep in touch. So we kind of know when they have graduated, and some keep in touch and tell us where they ended up with their after graduating from the university. Like I have an example of one girl that was at Erangeni CCP, then she went to MUBAS. By then it was Polytechnic Malawi for accounting, and she graduated with a distinction in accounting. And now, just a week ago, she communicated to me to say that she has received an award again for performing well. So we have such things like our girls do give us. She said that she's now a qualified accountant, and her final paper has been published in she has gotten like a position 20 worldwide, and it has been published in the accounting journal. I don't know what kind of accounting journal it is, but she was position 20. They had a kind of a competition there. So we have news like that for girls on MMF, and many have done well out there. But we don't get track of all of them that were there on MMF bursary, but still we have a large number that we can follow up on. Thank you. I hope I've the
Thank you,
answers that the
Mercy.
others were saying.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much.
Any other questions?
So we're not seeing any more in the chat. I'm not seeing any raised hands. Francesca, are there any coming through? Any questions on Facebook? Can I just mention here that the head teacher of Bandawi Girls wasn't able, Moses Saka hasn't been able to get into the Zoom meeting, but he's following it on live streamed on Facebook. And I hope, Moses, that you were very pleased to see your girls' video there. Thank you so much for that and for all the care of the girls. We have a message here on the chat about from Remy, which I'll just read out if that's okay. He says, based on Mercy's report, the impact is truly evident in the girls supported by MMF. The support transforms lives of many girls in Malawi. There are some really who are very successful in their lives now. And I would take this opportunity perhaps to thank Remy for all of the support he's given all of us. And he was instrumental in introducing us to the St. Mary's Karonga and Kasea in Chitipa that we support now. And he was our first connection there. Happy days, so to speak, Remy. So thanks for that. Okay, yeah, I think that we're good. Angie, if you want to move on.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Remy. I'm going to now hand over to Alan, co-convener and treasurer, to take us through the rest of the business. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Angie, and good afternoon to everybody yet again. The first job is to run through the financial accounts. So can we move on to the first slide, please? The accounts are for the year to 31st July 2024. They have been independently examined and signed off. We don't, for a couple of years over COVID, we haven't achieved that by the time of the AGM, but the last 2 years we have done that. And we will file them with Oscar once the accounts have been approved by this meeting. We have to the end of April to file them, so we're well within time. Next slide, please. The figures this year have been skewed by a legacy of 34,272, which we received during the year. The total income before the legacy was just under £48,000. Last year it was just over 50,000. So we're down by almost £3,000. And we think this is just cost of living crisis. People have less money than they had before. The current income at the moment is to allow us to continue to fund the core girls. And in fact, during the last week, after the slides were made up, we agreed to fund a further 5 girls at Machengatua because it's just such a small amount. It's not a boarding school, so the amount of fees are much lower there, and it cost us about £200 to fund another 5 girls. So we agreed to do that as trustees. We also discussed the legacy, and we have agreed to put £30,000 of that legacy towards funding 15 girls, which will be core girls, and this will be over 4 years. So the number of girls will increase by the 5 at Machengatua and 15 new girls. And in fact, they have already started in this current academic year. So there's a lot of pressures on our income. The cost of living crisis, I think people have less money, or perhaps think they have less money, and that makes it true that they do have less money. In Malawi, there's devaluation. There was a 44% devaluation about this time last year. That, in theory, should benefit people like ourselves who are sending money to Malawi, but inflation has counteracted that. And at present, they're cancelling each other out. So everybody in Malawi put the prices up by at least 44%. And the net result of that is that the cost of educating a girl remains about the same. However, as Angie has already pointed out, the Ready to Learn Fund is experiencing a lot more pressure. There are more requests from the girls, and there is a cost of living crisis in Malawi as well as there is here. So the girls genuinely have less money than they did before, which is quite remarkable because they almost had nothing, but they really have very little. The girls, we always we don't select the girls. We get the schools to select the girls, and the only criterion we put on them is to select the girls who are the poorest. And we're seeing that they really are very poor, and there is very little money available to them. I mentioned about them not having mobile phones, and this is why they can't afford phones and they couldn't afford airtime. And that makes it much harder for Mercy to keep in touch when they leave school. The total expenditure was last year was almost £75,000, and this year it's £62,500. The drop is mainly due to funds ending. The Alison Cameron Fund, for example, has run its course, and there's just a little bit of that left to go. So we are reducing the number of girls that we educate. Although within that, we're keeping the core girls at the same level as we were before. So the expenditure is dropping as a result of that. 93% almost of our spend is Malawi and 7% in the UK. I'm actually quite proud of that, I have to say. I think that's a fantastic statistic. I know that many people don't like statistics, but that's a really good one. That almost all the money that you give us, for every pound you give us, 93 pence of that goes to Malawi and supports the work there, whether it's Mercy's salary, Mercy's expenses for travelling, or mainly school fees and Ready to Learn. It's paid there. In the UK, there's our 4566. It's an irreducible minimum, to be honest. The fundraising costs are mainly deductions from Just Giving and Go Cardless. They charge fees. Banks charge fees to transfer money across, and occasionally we buy stuff for fundraising. Marketing and publicity, insurance, we can't operate without insurance. Office costs of £1,500 for a year is almost laughably low, and £1,000 roughly for the accounts fee. So we can't really reduce that any further, and that makes up the 7% that we spend. That includes things like the Zoom cost for this meeting. We get charged monthly fees for Zoom. Different things like that are all included in that. We mentioned earlier the banks, and the banks putting unreasonable pressure on us to remove trustees who are Malawian and living in Malawi. And the Royal Bank, a year ago, we completely closed the Royal Bank account. To be honest, we got out just before they chased us out. And it was largely due to having overseas trustees. We've never really got to the bottom of that. Our accountant is perfectly capable of tracing people in Malawi and getting a confirmation that they are who they say they are. He has to carry out these checks as well, and he can do it, but the banks say they can't. And it's largely due to addresses. In this country, of course, we have postcodes. In Malawi, they refer to you go down past ShopRite and it's 2 on the left, and you turn right and it's down there somewhere. And the banks don't seem to be able to cope with that. So we're free of these. We had a deposit account with Barclays, and we thought it would be easy to open a current account with Barclays. It's not easy to do anything with banks. I could spend the next hour telling you stories about banks, but I won't. So currently, Barclays are our main bank. It took us about a year to open a current account, even with a pre-existing account. And that's, I think it's a disgrace, frankly. We've opened an account with the Co-op Bank, and that will become our main bank. The account is opened recently. It's not fully operative yet, but we're going to keep the Co-op Bank and Barclays Bank both active at the moment. The reason for that is we're sitting on the best part of £100,000 at the moment. That's more than the intervention level should a bank fail. We mentioned things like that 15 years ago and said banks will never fail, but they did. So it would not be wise to keep all our money in the one bank. If you currently pay into Barclays Bank, you don't need to do anything. That account will remain open. We will happily accept your money. Go Cardless and Just Giving will continue as before. We'll transfer them to pay into the new account in due course. So if you pay through Go Cardless, pay through Just Giving, it's seamless. There will be no change to what you're doing at the moment. And we do encourage you to carry on paying, incidentally. Reserves. We need to keep cash reserves. As we've said before, we pledge to support a girl from when she starts until she finishes secondary education. And that includes if she has to temporarily leave for any reason. We've had girls drop out because of illness. We've had girls drop out because of pregnancy. And various other reasons that I'm not going to go into just now. We will keep that place open. And when that girl is ready to come back to school, we will continue to support her. So we need to have cash reserves to do that. We have unrestricted reserves of 68,719. Without the legacy, that would be 34,447. That's just about enough to support core girls in any year. So we're keeping roughly 1 year's reserves. The restricted, we have 30,305. That's made up of the Thomson Fund, which is a continuing fund, and that is continually being added to and is supporting girls at Mbangweni School for the Deaf. Lancashire West was a 4-year fund when it was set up. And it's now coming to an end, and there is a review meeting scheduled for, I think it's later this month, and that will decide whether they wish to carry on. It's their call. We will be happy to continue to work with them, and it's their call whether they want to continue or not. The Katie Fund has 1 year to go, and that's the balance we have there. And the PAT Fund was set up at the same time, but because that's for the deaf school girls, that has 3 years to run because it's 6 years of education. We understand, we've been notified just in the last week or two, we've been notified of a further legacy coming from the PAT Fund donor. And this will be discussed at the next meeting. And I suspect that we may well be adding that to the PAT Fund to keep that going beyond. But there's no decision has been made on that yet. And that's very hot news. So that's the accounts. I am happy to take questions and then approval. So can we move on one slide, please?
Thank you so much, Alan, for all of that. And to Rashna for those beautiful graphs.
She's done very well.
Yes. Yeah, see, because Alan thinks the rest of us can kind of understand figures, and while
I'm told not everybody is numerate. I really can't believe this.
We need pictures. We need pictures.
Yeah.
And thank you to Rashna for creating beautiful pictures.
So if there are no further questions, if we move on one, there'll be a poll will appear.
There's your poll, if you accept the accounts or not. Thank you very much, and we'll give people a little while to find that and to click their button. And it's perfectly reasonable to abstain.
Yes.
Can I mention that the accounts, the signed accounts, will be submitted to us for in the next few days, and they will be on the website, hopefully by this week. Every year we put our signed accounts up on the website in the spirit of transparency and accountability, and they will be there within a few hours. And
just to say again, the accounts have been independently examined, so a professional person has looked at them and is happy with them. So I'm going to give this a full, even though 89% of people have participated, I'm just going to give it another 10 seconds just to, we're not in any rush. Thank everybody for their patience. So we have one abstention. And that's a minute. And so we have accepted the accounts, no negative votes and one abstention.
Thanks.
I can guess who that might be, but I'm not going to mention any names.
Pop that up there as a sharing. Just
That's brilliant.
see.
Okay, so I'm now taking on the duties of chairing the meeting. So if we can move on we're moving on to the marketing report. This is one of Moira's duties, is doing the marketing. I'm tempted to say it's an excuse for her to enjoy herself, but there's an awful lot more to it than that. And I will pass over to Moira now without any further ado.
Thank you, Alan. Slander, slander, slander. As if
Absolutely, Mark. Absolutely.
I would ever be having a good time. So I'm just going to briefly run through a few slides. This is the marketing team. From left to right, there's Janet, Marriott, Aileen, and myself. And we kind of try to guide the marketing. Next slide, please. Last year, we had this market birthday 30 in 2023. So that finished after the last AGM. Altogether, we raised £5,700. We had such fun. Well, you saw we did a presentation about that last year, and that stuff is still up on YouTube. We had immense fun, raised a lot of money, and celebrated being 30 years old. Huge achievement for a small NGO. Just to say that in terms of the marketing team, there's work that needs to continue on behind the scenes. Part of that work is about paper stuff that we need to make. We do still use some paper flyers, although we reduce that. We reduce very much the amount of paper we're using, and we start to make, as you can see there, little flyers with QR codes. We're so trendy. And just that, you know, and our leaflets have become slimmed down because people now want the website. That's our main face to the world. And that's a lot of work, obviously, keeping that updated, keeping an eye on it, and keeping it alive, you know, a blog post at least every month. Next slide. Also the socials. You know, there was a time when people thought the socials were playing around. Believe me, that's not playing around. And I think that everybody now is aware of how important that is. So we work on 3 platforms. We work on Facebook, where we have two pages, the main Mimi Martin Fund one and one Miles from Malawi, because quite a lot of the fundraising stuff that is done for us and by us is either cycling, sorry, Marriott, walking, running, scooting, that kind of thing. We have an Instagram post, which is really important. That's becoming a much more popular kind of platform, and we post onto Twitter. So these are we need to keep up that presence. We post at least once a week on each of those platforms. And so now we have a little video for you, which is a taste of, as Angie was saying, not all of our activities are as leisurely as is seen in the picture, which is Janet and Marriott reflecting on activities in the coming time, perhaps. So if we can have the video, Rashna, please. Great. Thank you very much, Rashna, for that. So that gives you a little snapshot of the kind of stuff that we did. I want to echo what Alan said about donations, and I want to, this slide is, like, it's not about the money coming in, that's like a separate accounts thing, but this is money from fundraising. And while fundraising is great, we have a lot of fun, and it gives us a lot of content for the socials, which is important, encouraging people to do stuff. But in the last year, it's 24% of our income. When you put the fundraising activities together with regular donations, this shows you how vastly important regular donations are. And so those of you who give either small or big amounts of money every month, every quarter, or every year, that's that's really important, and that is what sustains us. So I just wanted to make sure that I remind you about that every year, and thank you all very much for that, because it's a major thing to do. So that's the end of my that's my marketing report. And just to say that in 2025 we're not going to have a project. I'm kind of projected out a little bit, but we do have like fundraising ideas pop up, and people pop up to do things like Jo Wright and her dips in the English lakes. And then we've come across this idea of blueberry picking in Perthshire. So that's a possibility for Nick, that kind of thing. So there will be some fun stuff going on. It won't all be cycling, Marriott, I promise. Well, I don't really promise. No, it won't all be cycling. I really do promise about that. And in our newsletters, which I hope you all enjoy, please give us feedback on that. We do you a newsletter update every 2 months, and very, very happy always to take feedback. Hope that it's readable and not too long, not too short, and all of that sort of stuff. So thank you all. Thanks to my marketing team. Thanks to everybody who does marketing stuff during the year for us. That's just great. And things like the Kilt Walk, like the Feel Good Factor, the Kilt Walk dates will be out on Wednesday, by the way. Just saying, just saying. So I'll take next slide and I'll take questions. Thanks.
While we're waiting for questions to come in, thanks very much, Moira, for that. That was a really, really good presentation. And I withdraw my remark earlier about enjoying yourself. But I would say that a lot of regular donations will continue because people see the posts on Facebook and so on, and they feel that what they're doing is supportive and being supported. So it's not just the fundraising income coming in, it's continuing to support the regular donors.
Absolutely. And it's about spreading the word to other people. For example, Hazel, who did the Kilt Walk, like that was a whole range of new people. She lives over in Paisley, whole range of new supporters and new people that learned about the Mimi Martin Fund. I'm very conscious of the time, so thanks very much to everybody for all their help, all their fundraising during the year, and all the fun. And welcome to Willen from Malawi, who's just joined us.
They just joined, yeah.
And we're on to the next slide then, Rashna, please.
Okay, so the next part, almost the final part of the formal business before we move on to the presentations, is election of trustees and then the appointment of the independent examiner. Each member supporter has been invited to vote through Google Forms. Paper forms were issued to people without emails. The current trustees were voted back. In fact, we heard today that Marriott does not want to continue at the moment, so reluctantly we're accepting her resignation with a very, very big, we hope you are coming back shortly. Kate also has retired from the board. Partly this is pressure of work, or largely this is pressure of work. She is a lecturer at a university which is kind of remote from everywhere in the world, but certainly remote from Scotland, and she's finding it difficult to commit the time to do it. So she wants to step down at the moment, but again, she is somebody who may well come back. But apart from that, the other trustees are continuing. Francesca and Matthew, who have both been part of this meeting, applied to come onto the board, and I'm delighted to say that both of them have been voted onto the board. We'll be conducting the onboarding stuff with them in the next couple of weeks. So that's the board. There will be 6 of us next year. I'm looking forward to the time when we can have Remy and Patrick back on the board as formal board members as opposed to advisors, but that is not possible at the moment. So that is the board. So thank you to everybody who voted. There was a reasonable number of people who did vote, and that was very encouraging. Andrew Cowling of Cowling Business Services has been the independent examiner for the last 2 years, and his reappointment has also been approved by the electorate. I have to say that this process has been an awful lot more simpler than the election in America seems to be, but I'm really delighted that people have taken the trouble to vote, and it is encouraging that we have that support in the background. that, unless there is any other competent business, and we'll leave a gap in case anybody wishes to raise anything, that will close the actual AGM business.